Hey guys, well, here we are at the start of week 5. Think about that. We've already got 4 weeks down, only 2 weeks left. Now, before we move on, just take a second and stop. And if you haven't already, celebrate the wins you've had. Where were you at when you started? And where are you at now? What kind of weight has been lost? What kind of activities are you able to do better now that you couldn't do when you started? Maybe sit-throughs killed you to start, and now they're actually manageable, right? Maybe you couldn't do a full push-up and now you can, right? What successes have you had these first 4 weeks? If you haven't, like I said, celebrate that. That is massive. Share that in the community of the successes that you've had. And think about it, there's this thing called non-scale successes, right? We want to have those, right? Scale successes are amazing, right? Scale being what tells us our weight, right? Those are amazing, but the non-scale wins or the non-scale successes are even better, right? Because they're real life, right? Now you can do something that you weren't able to do before. Write those down. Share them in the community. We got 2 weeks left, and those kind of things are going to help not only to encourage you, but to encourage others to keep going, right? And as you start to possibly wane sometimes, think about this. What's your why? Why did you start? Why are you going to keep going? What's that reason, right? Remember to stick to nutrition, right? It's easy to miss it by this much. Don't miss it. With that fitness and those workouts, right? Get going. Keep moving at those hard. Keep going as best as you possibly can with that, right? And then also, like I just mentioned, share in the community, right? Push yourself hard, push others hard, accept the encouragement for other people, be vulnerable, share in that community, right? Those are the first 4 things we've talked about, right? So in this, as we start week 5, the main thing that I want to focus on today is recovery. Now, this is often in workouts and in exercise, something that people don't talk about. When you look at other programs, this is sometimes a super important point that is missed, is recovery. Now, think about this. When you're working out, when you're doing push-ups, when you're jogging, when you're doing those sit-throughs, when you're holding the squat, when you're doing any of those things, you're actually tearing down muscle, right? You're actually breaking it down. And that's a good thing, right? You're actually tearing the muscle. As much as that sounds like, man, that's not going to be good, right? You talk about that, our brains are telling us, wait a minute, time out, you're tearing a muscle, that's not good. Actually, in regards to fitness, that is good as long as you're making sure you give yourself time to recover from that tear. And oftentimes, as I mentioned, that is missed, right? So one of the things I like to say is that we work out or you lift, right? You put the weights on and you lift for show. People look at it, they're like, oh wow, look at this guy, he can lift a bazillion pounds, right? But you rest for growth. Now, if you're a fan, again, of sports at all, especially golf, this might sound like a phrase that is something you've heard before, right? So in golf, they say you drive for show and you putt for dough. What that basically means is that when you're at the tee box, everybody wants to have that amazing drive, right? Where you think about on the PGA, where you have the cameras that are there and they have it and they have all the different technology that's tracking the drive, right? The guy gets up there and he just pelts one 350 yards down the fairway, right? Straight down the middle of the fairway, and that looks amazing. Everybody gets a little golf clap, right? And it looks absolutely amazing. We're thinking, wow, this guy's an amazing golfer. But then he gets to the green and he 3-putts, and what could have been a birdie or possibly a par is now a bogey, right? Because those little putts, like that tap-in putt at the end, that's a 1 millimeter putt just to get it in the cup, counts the same number of strokes as that 350-yard drive, right? So that's why they say you putt or you drive for show, but you putt for dough, because those putts are where you're actually going to save strokes, where you're going to actually be making the money. That same philosophy, that same mindset's true of working out. It looks amazing for the people who are pushing up the big weight, right, that are doing all these amazing things as far as like, flying through the sit-throughs and hitting the push-ups really hard. But in order for them to do that, they've got to be resting, right? So it's lift for show or workout for show, but rest to grow. The only time we're actually building muscle is when we're resting. That's when our body actually gets to be able to, when you're in that deep sleep of being able to restore your muscles and be able to get you back to a spot to where the muscles have been rebuilt stronger, so the next time you're working out and you tear them, they can be then built stronger again, right? So the only way we're gonna get stronger is by making sure that we're resting and recovering. So the question I have for you is, what kind of sleep are you getting? Are you getting that deep restorative rest every night? Or are you finding that your sleep is very disturbed? That you're getting up maybe to go pee 1,000 times. Maybe you're tossing and turning. It takes you a while to fall asleep, right? The best way that we can actually restore and really get stronger is by getting good quality sleep at night. So let me give you a couple tips to help with that. And some of these things we've already mentioned prior to this week, but we're going to mention them again and kind of hit on them a little bit more. The first of which we talk about is eating. So we really have talked about that window of that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. window of eating, that we want to be done by 8 p.m., right? Now you think about it, I know for me, and this is just me, if I go to bed around 11, that's 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 3 hours. You really are going to want to be done eating 3 hours before you go to bed. Now, if you're a shift worker where you work a way different shift and your times that you're awake and sleeping are totally different, just keep that 3 hours in mind. Roughly 3 hours before you're going to be going to sleep, you want to stop eating. That way it gives your body time to digest and slow down. When we eat, we're actually triggering our body to say, hey, you're awake, be awake, we're eating, it's time to be awake. When we don't eat, or we stop those 3 hours before, it gives our time body to slow down and to really understand that we're going to be going into a restful state. Also too, I would stop drinking water within reason after 8 p.m. as well. So that way you're not up peeing 1,000 times. I've been there where I keep drinking water because I want to get that water intake in, and then I'm up using the bathroom like crazy throughout the night. Right? I found that if I can get my water in between that same window, that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. window, that what I find is I'm able to actually get a better night's sleep. I'm not waking up having to use the bathroom as much as I do. Something else you want to talk about, or we want to talk about real quick too, is screen time, right? So I know this is a hard one, right? Because our lives are so focused on TV and Netflix and cell phones and things like that. And so it's not so much even blue light, even though that blue light is something that we want to try to minimize. But just in general, light through the eyes, right? So not to be weird and say that in a weird way, but like when we are taking in light through our eyes, we are actually at a chemical level telling our body it's time to be awake, right? That light is triggering our body to be awake, to be alert, to be ready to do things or whatever. The more we can minimize that as we get into the evening, the better, right? So this actually goes a little bit deeper than just a cell phone, right? But also or even deeper than just TV or Netflix, right? But even think about in your house, like of possibly like as evening comes, of dimming your lights, right? If you can, shutting lights off in your house to make it a little bit darker, because that'll then start triggering your body, hey, it's time, we got to get ready to go to sleep. And the more you do that in a routine, the more your body will know, hey, it's time for us to get ready for bed. Some of the things you can also do along with that, maybe instead of looking at your cell phone or your laptop or whatever as you lay in bed before, or as you are laying in bed before sleep, try to read a book, like an actual paperback book, because that way you're not taking in that light and you can read a little bit before bed, especially if you get into a routine of doing some reading, or maybe even like a warm shower or bath or something where there's a routine of maybe it's the shower and then you read and then you've already had the lights dimmed. Your body, believe it or not, you'll actually literally be biohacking your body into tricking it into saying, hey, it's time to go to sleep. And your body will get used to that pattern and you'll find that you'll be falling asleep quicker, having a deeper, more restorative sleep at night, waking up feeling a little bit more refreshed. One of the things you can also do, this might sound kind of crazy, in order to get a good night's sleep is the first thing you want to do when you wake up in the morning is to take in that direct sunlight, right? So I live in Buffalo, New York, so I can't in February go for a jog outside or go walk outside when it's time when I wake up in the morning because it is freezing cold and depending upon when I wake up, it's still dark out. But one of the things that you do want to do as much as you can is to take in some natural light, right? So open the blinds if you can't get outside. If you live in a place where you can, go outside for just a minute and kind of take in some sunlight, right? Some good old-fashioned vitamin D. What happens is that actually triggers your body to start its daily cycle, which we've talked about before, that circadian rhythm to where at the end of the day, your body's gonna be like, yep, it's time. Just naturally, it's gonna feel like it's time to go to sleep. So one of the things you can do to really get great sleep is to make sure when you wake up that you're getting some sunlight as much as you can right through your eyes, right? So I'm not saying don't stare at the sun, right? But I'm saying to make sure that you're, getting some natural light will really help that as well, right? So we talked about a couple of things, right? In regards to eating, in regards to drinking, in regards to getting sunlight, of reducing the amount of light we're getting at night, increasing the amount of light we're getting first thing in the morning. Something else you want to be careful of is sweets and alcohol. So getting those things late at night, which is a lot of times when we're consuming that stuff, is going to keep you awake. So be super careful about that, right? Now I understand we have lives to live, right? So occasionally you're going to be having a drink at night. Totally get it, right? Or you're going to be having that cookie after 8 p.m. Totally understand, right? We have lives to live. So I'm not saying that we get rid of that. But what I am saying is try to minimize that as much as possible to really get that deep, restorative sleep so that way our muscles are being rebuilt so that way the next day we're ready to take on the day, not only with the workout, but you'll find you'll be a little more alert at work. You'll be more alert as a spouse or as a child or whatever your responsibilities are. You'll be ready to go with that deep restorative sleep. So here we go, guys. Week 5. Make this your best week yet, right? Make sure you are staying on top of nutrition, right? You're taking in the right amount of water that you're supposed to be taking in, right? That you're hitting your workouts, that you're hitting them every day, hitting them the best you can, pushing yourself a little bit further than you thought you could go, that you're getting the rest you need at night, that you're setting up a pattern or something that you can do as a routine every night so that your body is ready for some deep restorative sleep. And then also too that you're sharing in the community, that you're staying active, that you have your people that are with you that are cheering you on, keeping you going, and that you're commenting and helping out even within this community here, right? We got 2 weeks left, guys. 2 weeks. Keep going. Don't quit now. The light is at the end of the tunnel. We can see it. We're almost there. Keep rocking and rolling, guys. You have got this.